Here are two photos of rural Myanmar. Can you guess when they were taken? So the one on the left was taken in the early 1900s, and the one on the right, just a few years ago. So here we are, over a century later, and things haven't really changed that much in rural Myanmar. People lack basic goods and services. Yeah, you could say the last 2 years have seen a lot of solar panels and mobile phones, motorbikes. But the fact is, the majority of rural people remain deeply isolated and poor and underserved by markets and the government. So today I'd like to show you how design can make a difference in creating valuable products and services for rural families. 20 years ago, I began working and traveling around rural areas in Myanmar. And as I talked to families, farm families, I began to see a lot of problems and needs. It seemed like farmers were spending most of their day just trying to get water to the fields. They were using things like hand pumps. These are meant for low-volume household use, not for farming. And so this man is trying to grow a tomato crop, and you can see how stressed his tomatoes look from no water. And he certainly doesn't have time to weed his plot. I also saw lots of women all day long just carrying heavy watering cans. Can you imagine carrying 40 pounds on each shoulder and doing that 100 times a day? You just wouldn't have enough energy left at the end of the day or anything else. And there's also many farmers using moundets, which is a bamboo cantilever with a bucket on the end, and it draws water from the well. So, these were used by the ancient Egyptians thousands of years ago. Imagine irrigating an entire field one bucket at a time. You can't grow many crops at that rate. So I was thinking, there's got to be a better way. And so in 2004, I moved back to Myanmar with my husband and 2 children. And we were looking for a better way to support rural families. And I'd been in the aid world for some years, and I knew I wanted a different relationship with people. I didn't want to treat them as charity recipients or aid beneficiaries. I wanted a relationship of mutual exchange, where customers tell us, and they decide whether something's valuable or not, and we're held accountable by them. You see, if you give something away free, you never know whether it's valued or not. So a local group told me recently they gave out free solar systems to villages, only to find out that they were being resold in the market because the villagers didn't value them. So several years ago, there was an international group that brought in tens of thousands of these personal water purifiers. They figured that people living in rural Myanmar needed clean drinking water. Well, I've looked long and hard in the Delta since then, and I've yet to find one person drinking water like this. Would you want to drink water like this with your meal? So while everyone deserves good design, the poor can least afford poor design. When you live on a knife edge and you're one step away from financial ruin or disaster, you really need products that actually work, that are designed to work. So how can we design products and services that rural families will want to buy, will value and want to buy? Well, the answer is simple. Think of a product that you've bought recently that delights you and that has made your life better. So designers worldwide spend a lot of focus and attention designing cool and innovative products for markets like us. products like the iPhones and the hybrid cars and smart watches. So why don't we use the same design practices that they do, but design products and valuable products and services for people living on $1 or $2 a day? So how does this design process start? It starts with getting close to your customers and getting to know them. It takes deep knowledge and empathy to solve a complex problem, poverty. You can't do it from sitting in an office from far away and deciding things for people. And it doesn't cut it to just go on a short field trip. It takes countless conversations with people, watching them work, and understanding their daily lives and feeling their hopes and aspirations. It's not an intellectual exercise that you get from a typical survey or a focus group. So this family was telling me, they were one of our foot pump users, our product users, and they were starting to earn more income. And they were so proud that they could keep their 12-year-old son in school now. And so I said to them, "Oh, so you want to see him complete high school?" And he said, "Oh no, we want to see him complete university." So rural families are just like you and me. They're not only hardworking and resilient, but they have the same dreams and concerns as you and me. So good design is not only about cool ideas. The world is brimming with millions of ideas and solutions. But good design is about taking a real prototype in front of a real customer and getting feedback. And it's important to do it early on and throughout the whole process, instead of waiting till you have a finished product to put in front of people. So I was in San Francisco several years ago, meeting with a group of rocket scientists, literally rocket scientists. They had PhDs from MIT. And they were so excited to show me their latest invention that they thought was going to help rural families around the world. And it was a LED lamp that you charge up by pulling a wind-up cord like this. So if you want about an hour of lamp lighting, you go for 15 minutes. So I asked them, "So what do rural families say about it? What's the feedback you're getting?" And they looked at me like, "What?" They hadn't put it in front of real rural people. And they were so confident about their technology that they assumed that people would like it. And it turns out it was a flop. So we get brutally honest feedback from farmers, and they often tell us how ridiculous our prototypes are. When we first started out introducing foot pumps, we were feeling pretty good. And we thought, $40, 45,000 jobs, that's pretty cheap for an irrigation pump. But farmers kept asking us, "Do you have a cheaper version? Do you have a cheaper version?" And so finally, we went through a rigorous design process, and we came up with a baby elephant, the Simpao, which is 19,000 chats, or $18. It's simple, lightweight, and women and children like to use it. We've sold about 40,000 of these pumps. Rural customers value quality and convenience, and like you and me, they appreciate aesthetic design. So when we were prototyping these irrigation water storage tanks, we put a square-shaped one and this one in front of people, farmers, and said, "Which one do you prefer?" And they pointed to this one with the beautiful form. Because farmers are proud of their farms, and they want them to look nice. So companies worldwide face the difficult challenge of keeping up with changing times. And this is especially true in Myanmar these days. And so after selling foot pumps for the last 12 years, we've noticed a rapid influx of cheap motorized pumps from China. Pumps like these, which they're becoming quite popular among farmers because farmers are facing labor shortages these days. And we estimate there's 1 million of these pumps in the country. But farmers are not too happy about these. They say they're really heavy to carry. Women farmers hate them. And, you know, they're noisy, polluting, and they cost a lot to run daily. So we saw an opportunity to create a cleaner alternative, one that would leapfrog this dirty and outdated technology. So after making prototype after prototype after prototype, and after 10,000 hours of pump testing, we finally launched, we just launched the Lotus Pump. This is the world's most affordable solar irrigation pump. And it's designed and made in Myanmar. Thank you. So it fits into a 2-inch tube well that's very common here among farms. And what you see rotating there is the inside of the pump. And there's a special bearing inside that's made out of heat-resistant ceramic that was used by NASA in the space shuttles. And so this bearing rotates over 1 billion times for farmers. And the pump costs $350, whereas most solar pumps from India cost $3,000. But what I really want to say about this pump is that it was the most difficult product for us to design. It was a huge challenge trying to source materials and parts here. We had to design for manufacturability in Myanmar. So design is not only about physical products. You can design services, for example, financial services. Farmers are always telling me they hate microfinance because of the forced biweekly payments they have to make. Farmers have lumpy cash flow, and they have cash on hand at the end of harvest. So they need loan products that match their cash flow. And rural families are also, they said they feel like they have to grovel when they are looking to take out a loan from a lender. So there's a huge opportunity to design financial services and loan products that affirm dignity and that farmers actually like. There's a lot of energy and enthusiasm these days for mobile apps. And there's designers are looking at the way people are engaging with their smartphones. And again, digital design requires a thoughtful process. And for the farm sector, it's going to take bringing together UX designers, developers, and farmers to figure out what works. And sometimes the best solution may not always be just another app. So social designers, the ultimate goal is to create impact for families who use their products and services. And I believe impact can and should be measured. And for us, over the years, we found that when a rural family uses a product or service, they're able to earn extra incomes of $250 a year. And that's significant. And the top 3 uses of this income is number 1, extra food for the family, better diets. Number 2, seed and inputs, investing back in the next crop. And number 3, paying for children's school fees to keep their children in school. So focusing on impact is what helps us figure out what products and services we should design. I want to tell you about a man I met in Schwab Township several years ago. So our staff had set up a product demonstration in the village. And they set up a foot pump so that farmers could test drive it. And there were people lined up to test drive it. And this man was on the foot pump, treadling away, just looking at the water flowing out, and he wouldn't get off. So the others in line said, "Hey, come on, it's our turn, get off." And he looked at them and said, "Don't bother me, I'm dreaming." And it turns out he was a landless laborer who had worked his whole life on other people's farms. And for the first time, he found an irrigation pump that he could afford. And so he was dreaming about, he was going to lease a little plot the next season, and he was dreaming about where he was placing his tomato plants and his radishes and his eggplant. He was designing his future plot. So whether we are designing a physical product or service, or public infrastructure, or government policy, ultimately, good design helps people make their dreams come true. And that's why design is so important for the future of rural Myanmar. Thank you.